Question number 6. Discuss the levels of professionalism from yourself and the group. How suitable is the work at this stage for a public audience? I think at the moment the levels of professionalism in the group are fluctuating a lot. Sometimes the professionalism is fairly good. This is quite often demonstrated by the dancers, who tend to very quickly get on with the work, respond to direction. They work very quickly. That's always very good. However, sometimes the professionalism slips during rehearsals, especially in the long rehearsals. It's not very professional when we have to keep stopping and starting due to the audience watching talking, or the people on stage, in fact, talking and not listening to their direction. That is an example of where the professionalism sometimes slips. I feel like my professionalism is relatively good. I've attended all the rehearsals so far on time, and fully prepared. The group sometimes manages to keep professionalism up, and especially when morale is up and we are enthusiastic and excited about what we're producing. However, it's not very professional when people forget their scripts or aren't necessarily putting in full effort or paying attention or writing notes on the direction that they've been given. In regards to whether it is suitable at this stage for a public performance, I would say it is not very suitable at the moment. We are not ready to show a public audience at all. Some people are still reading from the script. Some people are less familiar with lines. We're only in the beginning stages at the moment, so it is okay. There's no way we would be prepared for a public performance at this point, and that is completely expected. That's completely fine. However, at the moment it is definitely not ready. We still have people reading scripts, taking a lot of prompts. We wouldn't be ready to show anyone at the moment. Sometimes there are little moments where inappropriate language is used, which really has to be cut down on from now on, since the audience that we're performing to is for children. Children and their parents are the target audience. And it would be really bad if anyone were to accidentally swear on stage or say something inappropriate like, oh my god, we can't say that on stage. We need to be careful about saying anything inappropriate in rehearsals, so that we get into the habit of being professional, and so that none of this happens in our actual performances. People haven't had much time to rehearse their movements either, so these are sometimes a bit dodgy. These don't always work. Sometimes people don't remember their movements. I sometimes forget my movements as I haven't rehearsed them too often yet. This will improve with time. A lot of stuff just needs polishing up. It needs more rehearsals, more time. For example, the musical numbers would not be ready for a public performance either. We're making a lot of headway with rehearsals and the musical numbers, but they're not ready to be seen by public yet. There are still some people reading lines for their songs, or the harmonies aren't quite as rehearsed as they should be, and we would need a lot more time before the public could see a fully prepared version of these songs, like Breaking Free or the ensemble singing One Day More at the end of Act 1. All these need a lot more preparation before we would be able to show them to a public audience. Question number 7. What do you personally need to improve on? Personally, I think my improvements need to be made mainly in my singing, which is going to take a lot of work, a lot of rehearsing at home. I feel like I need to become more comfortable with my lines. I feel quite comfortable with them already, but I would like to be off script within the next few days, hopefully. I need to keep going over my notes that I've made of all my directions, make sure that I am well rehearsed in all my movements. I keep forgetting some of my movements on stage, and that's definitely an improvement that I should be making, to become more rehearsed with my movements, be as familiar with them as possible, so that I have these ready at all times and I know where I should be at all times. As time goes on, I feel like I should be adding improvements to the gestures that I use as Jack. I do have a few of these movements that I typically use to show his character. However, I would like to work on them and make them more clear, a lot more physical, a lot bigger, so that you can see them right from the back of the auditorium and help the character of Jack be recognised. I'd really like to improve on those. I'd like to make my characterisation of Jack a bit more clear. This should come with more rehearsals and me rehearsing at home. I also would like to improve my energy on stage. I want to have more energy, put in more enthusiasm into all my movements, make everything as big as possible. For example, in the kitchen scene where everything is quite silly, and there are a lot of movements that are in there just for the jokes, like when Jack has to hit these sausages with a rolling pin. These movements need to be huge and just immensely physical, and it will really help with the comedy of the scene. I also think I could make improvements with where my focus is whenever I'm on stage by splitting the scenes up into units, as I was taught by my director Rob, assessing each of these units and working out my character's objectives for these parts of the scenes. It will really help me to know where my focus should be on stage at all times. A lot of the time it is Alice, but not always, and I feel like I should always be well rehearsed and clear about where I should be focused on stage at all times. That is something I'd really like to improve on. I also need to improve on my diction and my projection, as I've been told a few times by several different people, by my director in the second year, Robert, and by my tutors, Kerry and Becky. This will just help the performance in general, make everything more professional. Hopefully everything I say should be very clear to everyone, wherever they are sitting in the recital room. I really need to improve my projection and the way I speak. I feel like it would help if I'm always aware of where I should be looking in the audience. I need to improve on my audience interaction. I've been told that while my audience interaction is quite good, I tend to look generally out towards the audience and seem to be a little bit apprehensive about actually making eye contact with members of the audience. So this is something I could improve on. I could improve my confidence a little bit more and have that confidence to make eye contact with various random members of the audience. And I think this would be a really good improvement for me to make. Question number 8, discuss how your character has developed. The character of Jack has actually been developed quite a bit in the last few weeks during the blocking process. We have made the character less straightforward. He's not just joking about everything. He's altered from being, at the beginning I sort of performed as though Jack was stupid and that's all he was. But that has altered recently to be more that he's not so much stupid, he's just lazy and doesn't want to work. He's only interested in Alice. He's not interested in being a hard worker or anything like that. While he has still remained a friendly character and one of the most friendly characters in the plot, he's attained this element of jealousy. He's very jealous of Dick because Dick is getting on so well with Alice, and that's what Jack wants. So that's a way in which the character has been developed. He's also changed to being... it started off as playful, but it's developed into being... he's playful and childish. Which stems from this childish, petty jealousy of Dick. Like when Dick is leaving in scene 1, he says, "Come on, Tommy," and Jack mimics him very childishly, in a very comedic way that usually gets a laugh from the audience. "Come on, Tommy," in a very childish way. And that's something that's been added to the character as rehearsals have gone on. He's less subtle than I originally played him. He's everything he does is a lot more obvious. He's not stupid, he's just a bit daft, and that's something that's changed in the last few rehearsals. As a character, he's developed in the way that he's attained some extra depth that he didn't have before, a depth of emotion. He's not only jealous of Dick, he's not only playful, childish, in love with Alice, but because he's losing Alice to another person, he has quite a sad element to the way he's played, which is a real contrast to how he behaves. Being so childish and playful, the sadness is quite noticeable and usually gets sympathy from the audience, and that's something that we've added in recently. I'm hoping to develop this more as well because it seems to work really well with the audience. So that's something new that has been developed in the character in the last few rehearsals as well. He's developed recently to be less stupid and more a character who is just fun-loving. He wants to have fun, and his motivation's mainly his adoration for Alice. So he's not stupid, he's just playful and quite a happy character when it comes to his day-to-day life, until Alice gets taken away from him by Dick. Question number 9. What performance techniques have you used during the rehearsal process, and what was the result of this? Rehearsal recently has used a large variety of different techniques, including things like projection, which I really need to focus on a lot more. This would make sure everyone can hear and understand exactly what I'm saying, that everything's loud enough. Another example is gestus, which is something we have started using recently. The sort of the small actions used over and over again at appropriate times by a single character, which helps you identify that character. That's something that I've started using a lot more during the rehearsal process. I've also been using a lot more intense physicality. Everything is very high energy, high enthusiasm. Movements are very big, and everything has to be very large and enthusiastic. Posture and physicality is something that I've been thinking about specifically for this character. There are lots of moments where he is on stage and there is a page or so of the script before he has another line. So in these points, he can't just be stood there not doing anything, looking like me. He has to have a certain body language that helps identify him as Idle Jack. So I've been working on specific body language and posture for him, which at the moment is reasonably laid back. He's quite lazy, as his name indicates, Idle Jack. I tend to put my weight on the back of one foot and put one hand on my hip, and the other arm dangles, and he leans slightly as if he's tired. This is just when he's stood about listening to other people talking. When he's attentive, his body language changes to show this, and everything becomes more raised and tense, and he sort of leads his head forwards to the direction of what he is interested in, which is an example of a technique that I've been thinking about using for this character during the rehearsal process. This has the result of making it more clear what his character is actually like. It helps him always. I will always stay in character, even when he's not the focus of the scene. He's not being spoken to, just in case someone in the audience is looking at Idle Jack. When this happens, he is still clearly Idle Jack, and it doesn't detract from the performance. It actually helps make the performance more believable because he's always in character. Comedy timing has also been used a lot in rehearsals for this character. I mean, for many of the characters, but this character especially. It's very important that the comedy timing of all the jokes is correct, so that the meaning of them isn't lost if they are timed incorrectly. It has the result of making the overall play more amusing. It keeps up the pace of the piece, and sort of it pulls everything together. And there should never be too much of a drop in energy. And when this happens, the jokes that need to be correctly timed bring the energy back up. Eye contact is also a technique that should be used a lot in rehearsal, really, to practice making eye contact with the audience, as should be done on the actual final performance night. This has the effect of making the audience feel more involved. You have to seem approachable as a person, friendly and open as a character. It will make the audience feel more comfortable. facial expression is extremely important for all of the characters. It's something we should be using all the way throughout all of our rehearsals from the very beginning, to just rehearse over and over again what our facial expressions at certain moments are going to be. It will help to show the audience what each character is feeling at a specific moment, even if they are not where the focus is on stage. If something else is happening over at the other side of the stage, you need to be aware of how your character should be reacting, and you should show this through your body language and facial expression, which is something we've been using throughout rehearsals so far. It results in the audience having a better understanding of what a character wants in a scene, potentially helping them understand their motivation for why they are there or whatever they're doing at the time. Question number 10. My action plan for next week. By the next session, as an action plan, I would like to be fully prepared with my lines. There's a line that I tend to forget, as I've noticed in rehearsals, because I don't have a cue line from somebody else. My cue is a visual one. And at the moment we haven't actually had that visual cue, which is Captain Cuttle coming in with the fake hand stuck in a rat trap. So at that line where I'm supposed to come in with "that looks painful" is my line, I need to be fully prepared to come in at that. That's something I'm definitely going to practice on because I don't want to miss that again. I'm also going to work on my vocals for my singing, because they're pretty weak at the moment, and I'd like to start improving as soon as possible. I'm going to be using the warm-ups that were taught to us by our singing teacher. She taught us a few songs that we'll easily be able to sing at home and learn properly. So these should help me get more comfortable with singing in front of other people. I also need to remember to bring my script to write notes that any of the directors give me. I'm going to bring a notebook so that I'm fully prepared to write down criticism or feedback from my directors. I also intend to bring in some items that can be used with the costume department, as my tech role is costume assistant. I've had a few ideas that might be useful. There are a few items that I could bring in. There are small bits of trim, lace, things like that, some coloured tights, coloured shoes for my Idol Jack character I'm going to bring in within the next week, so that if they can be used, they can start being used in rehearsals from now on, so we're all used to rehearsing with these sorts of props and costumes.